So have you heard the story about the group of guys that come up on a hungry brown bear? Apparently it starts charging and one of the guys blurts out, "We are those things can run 35 miles an hour." To which the thinnest and the fastest in the group says, "Sorry guys, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you." All jokes aside, life at times can seem like a competition. Let's face it, us guys in certain situations are still competing for scarce resources. The best jobs, the best customers, beautiful women. So how to crush your competition? The answer, gents, at least when it comes to first impressions, is to dress better than the majority of men out there. The reality, gents, is that most of us are lazy. We look for shortcuts to be able to make a decision about somebody, and their outward appearance is the easiest one. Seriously, we judge a person even if they haven't opened their mouth to speak within 3 seconds of meeting them. Most of us have a preconceived picture in our mind of what a powerful, competent, successful person looks like. Think about it like this, gentlemen. There are opportunities all the time out there floating around. People with questions, people with needs, people looking for someone to solve that problem. If you look like someone who's competent, someone who has an expertise, somebody that they would go to, hey, I'm looking for who's in charge, I'm looking to get this problem solved, I'm looking to make this sale, all of a sudden you have opportunities coming your way when you dress the part. And there's nothing in a man's wardrobe that makes him look more masculine, more professional than a sports jacket, a suit jacket, a blazer jacket. And even all those casual jackets have in common with the more formal jackets that they build up the shoulders. They allow the eyes to go up and down and they create a leaner profile. Now, speaking of creating a leaner profile, let's talk about proper grooming. So if you got an extra 30, 50, 70 pounds on, yeah, that jacket's going to do a decent job of hiding the weight. But you're going to have maybe a little bit of weight around the face. How can you get a leaner profile still? Well, gentlemen, as it finally starts to get cooler, start to grow out that beard. A well-trimmed and groomed beard can do an excellent job of covering up that double chin. Seriously, look at these two images right here. Which guy looks leaner? The key here, though, is to give yourself time to grow this beard and, again, make sure that it's well-trimmed, that you're using a grooming product, you're keeping that beard looking professional. And speaking of hair, let's talk about the hair on top of your head. Now, I get it. You are loyal. You've been going to the same barber for a decade, since you were 20 years old. So I'm going to give you a tip that may not sit well for you. Cheat on your barber once. Go see a stylist and go see what he or she can do with your hair that would be something new. Now, I'm not saying your barber can't, but they oftentimes fall into the same routine, which is, guys, we love a routine, but here's the deal. Let's change it up. Let's see, maybe your hair has changed. Maybe the styles have changed. Maybe you could actually just simply take that side part and flip it to the other side. Or maybe they want to bring in a modern cut, something that you've never thought of, but the stylist really understands your face shape and says, you know what? This style is popping right now. Let's go ahead and try it on you. Now, of course, go slow, and it's great if you get a personal recommendation or if they've got some great reviews online. But my point is this: men, we are creatures of habit. Sometimes we stick with a style for too long versus going out there and trying something new, even if it's just simply the way we style our hair. And gents, the way you style your hair can make a big difference. The product you use, using heat, which I have to admit, most men do not use a hairdryer when styling their hair. And that's too bad, because if you know anything about a hairdryer, it can give you a more voluminous look, even if you have thinning hair. With that being said, gents, I want to introduce you to Laifen, the sponsor of today's video. I've been working with Laifen now for over a year, and I love what these guys do. They have the best hairdryer I have ever used, bar none. Seriously, when it comes to speed, this hairdryer is going to dry your hair 5 times faster than a normal hairdryer. That being said, it's incredibly quiet. We've got a sleeping baby in the house. Guys, 59 decibels. So I can use this hairdryer in the morning and I don't have to worry about waking anybody. And let's talk about protecting your hair. So they've got this innovative hot and cold circle mode. Basically, this protects your hair and scalp from heat damage. On top of that, you got full control. So they got a patented 4-temperature heat ring. Basically, in a fraction of a second, you can quickly see what temperature your hairdryer is set at. And did I mention this thing is incredibly lightweight and portable, very easy to use, just one of the most innovative functional hair dryers I've ever gotten my hands on. And the price, guys, if you compare it to some of the competitors out there, you're going to find they are a fraction of the cost. So gents, to get the best deal on the web for Laifen, make sure to use the link in the description of today's video. Use it or lose it. This deal is not going to be around forever. I'm linking over to Laifen. Use that discount code. Get the best deal on the web. Now for this next point, let's talk about focused attire choice, intentional tailoring, and trend awareness with timelessness. Bring it all together, gents, and of course, we're talking about fit. Now, when most people think fit, they're thinking their clothing should fit them. Yes, that is part of it, but you also want to make sure that the clothing fits the situation in which you're wearing it. So a lot of times, guys will underdress for a situation. Don't be that guy. It's always better to be a little bit overdressed than underdressed. Next up, let's talk about intentional tailoring. And you need to understand your body, what type of fit you like, because no two people are going to like the same exact fit. In fact, I remember I had twins that were customers of mine at my old clothier, and they would come in and they were like within 2 pounds of each other. Yet, one of them liked a much closer fit, the guy that was actually a little bit heavier versus the guy that was a little bit skinnier. And here's the thing is that we actually got it mixed up one time, and the guy was like, yeah, my clothing's just way too tight, which is funny because his little bit bigger brother was like, nah, this is perfect. This is how I like it. Guys, you need to understand what you like, what's right for the occasion, and then work with your tailor. And you should know the name of your tailor to get exactly what you want on that intentional fit of the clothing. Enjoying today's video? Guys, do me a favor and smash that like button. Seriously, when you crush that like button, it lets the YouTube gods know that, hey, Antonio's videos are worth watching, and I appreciate it. And now let's talk about trend awareness and timelessness. So I have nothing against fashion, but I do think the whimsical winds of fashion are difficult to keep up with. For most men, especially those guys that simply want to use clothing as a tool to get what they want out of life, I'm going to say stick with classic style, because you can go out there and spend $500 on shoes. If you know they're classic, you know they've been in style for 50 years. Guess what? They're going to be in style for another 50 years. When the essentials in your wardrobe are built off of foundational pieces, the great part here is that you don't have to worry about replacing them until they wear out. You don't have to worry about them going out of fashion. And that takes me to the next point, which is 90% timeless, 10% trends. Now, if you're a bit younger, if again, you're a fashionista, you can definitely change this up to maybe 30%, 40% trends. But I do think that at least half of a man's wardrobe at all times should be the essential classics. Why? Because you don't have to think. If you think of an artist, like even Picasso, he would still have a canvas. He would have some place where he would start. His paints would always be the same. Yes, he would come up with different pictures, and he cubism and all that stuff he came up with, but he did have a foundation to build off of. And that's what I want to stress for you. Even if you're super creative, you still want to have a foundational base. But most of us aren't super creative when it comes to our clothing. Me, I like uniforms. I like being able to wear something that sends the message I want to send without me having to think about it. In that case, I'm probably like 90 to 95% classic, maybe 5 to 10% trends. And I just said it, uniforms. So a lot of people, when they hear a uniform, they're like, man, I want creativity. I'm not sure about wearing the same thing again and again. But here's the deal, is that when you've got a uniform, and it's going to be ultra casual, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, these guys had uniforms. They had looks that they wanted to create their brand with, and they established that uniform once, and then they didn't have to think about it. Every time they got dressed in the morning, they were like, I don't have to think about my clothing. I simply put on because it's sending the message I want to send. Now, for me, my uniform is going to be a collared shirt. I've got long sleeve dress shirts. I've also got a number of polos, and I pretty much wear the same color. Yeah, I've got a few other colors, variations of blues, whites. I've got some grays, but I like these colors for my shirts because I've got a whole color profile for my jackets. I've got that for my trousers, and I know everything works there. But for me, this uniform is really easy to put on because I don't have to think about it. My point being, when you've got a uniform and you've thought through what message you want that uniform to send, all of a sudden you're not spending your precious resources, the whole willpower, the brain thing. You are reserving that for things that really matter, like being able to launch your startup, to being able to get that charity up off the ground, to being able to go into work and put in your best so that you get that raise. Guys, that's what I want to see you doing. And if you know that, hey, my clothing sends the message that I'm a professional, that I'm competent, then you can get dressed and not have to think about it and know that your clothing is going to do its job by serving you, by sending that message that everyone reads before you even open your mouth. All right, Jen, so now let's transition right into the interchangeable wardrobe and color blocking. I'm going to bring these together. Now, I've mentioned the interchangeable wardrobe multiple times on my channel, but in case you've never heard it, this is the idea that 4 pairs of shoes, 4 trousers, 4 shirts, 4 jackets, if they are all 100% they can work with each other, we're talking 16 pieces of clothing, but 256 outfit combination possibilities. I don't know about you, but I love this because you can own less, you can get more wear out of that clothing, you can look good, and you can piece it together without having to think. But how do you get interchangeability with the clothing? Well, one of the key parts to this is color blocking, and that is choosing what color in general you're going to keep your shirts, what color in general you're going to keep your trousers, what color in general you're going to keep your shoes. Because if you change the styles and the colors up way too much, all of a sudden you're going to find that, yeah, I've got, blue, I like blue shoes, but to wear them with blue trousers, to wear them with a blue shirt, it's just too much monochromatic look versus going with black or going with a dark brown. I think that that is a more traditional color, and in general is that dark, rich brown or going with medium browns. I know for me, brown shoes are where it's at. I keep all of my shoes in variations of brown. I'll also bring in an oxblood because that's very interchangeable and easily works with a lot of other colors. When it comes to my trousers, I'm going to have blue in, denim, blue jeans. I'm also going to have grays, and I'll have some tans. When it comes to shirts, like I talked about, I've got all different colors of blues. I've got whites, and then mixing those two colors together. Occasionally, I'll have a few other colors mixed in, like a pink or a lavender. But understand, anything I bring in that's kind of an off color or something that isn't going to usually fit into the color block won't be as interchangeable, because when it comes to jackets, I've got, again, variations of blues, oftentimes with a pattern. I've got greens, I have tans, I have dark browns. I know for me, by using that color blocking system, it works with being able to mix and match all these pieces. Now, for some of you guys, you got a much more casual wardrobe. Maybe it's going to be hoodies, maybe it's going to be jeans, maybe it's going to be variations of sneakers. Point being is you could still use the color blocking system there with your t-shirts, with your jeans, with your sneakers if you think through it, and all of a sudden you've got a very easy combinations you can put together and always look good. So I live in central Wisconsin. About an hour to the east of me is Green Bay, Wisconsin. 103,000 souls, and they fill this stadium that can have like 100,000 people. It's crazy. What are those other 3,000 people doing? Point being though, if you know anything about Lambeau Field, you've probably heard of a guy named Vince Lombardi. Vince had a quote that practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. I love that quote because I encourage guys, if they want to step up their style, if they want to be in that top 1% of good looking guys, then they need to practice dressing sharp. Because here's the deal. If you own nice clothing, but you never wear it, well, it's not doing you any good. And if you own nice clothing, but you rarely wear it, it's a costume when you put it on. Gents, if you want to reap the benefits of having a wardrobe that makes you look successful, and guess what? When you look successful, you eventually start taking actions to be successful. You become successful. It's like the self-fulfilling prophecy. That's what I'm talking about here and what I want to see. So many guys say, you know what? I don't dress well because it's uncomfortable. It's not true. If you find clothing that fits you well, that is made from a quality material, it just feels unfamiliar the first few times that you wear it. But like going to the gym, the first few times, yeah, you feel out of place. You don't know what all those machines do. You don't know how to lift weights properly. You're a little bit sore, quite a bit sore afterwards. But guess what? After you've done this for a few weeks, all of a sudden it starts to feel more routine. After a few months, it starts to feel really good. And after a year, if you were to take a break from the gym, you just don't feel the same. You feel like you need to be back in there. It's the same thing when you find a signature scent. For me, walking out of the house without putting on one of my signature scents, I actually I feel strange. When you aren't dressed well, which occasionally I'll go for a run, and then my wife needs something from the store, so I'll go to the store in my gym clothes. I feel out of place not wearing a collared shirt. Once this becomes your new normal, then all of a sudden it just feels normal. And gentlemen, that's when the magic happens, because you can't control when opportunity comes your way. But when you look the part, all of a sudden more opportunities are going to come your way, more compliments are going to come your way, and you are going to feel like the man you know yourself to be. All right, Jen, so what video to watch next? Boom, I got you covered right here. Check it out. Solid video. If you enjoyed today's video, you are going to love this one. Boom, right here. Click on it. Magically, you will go to the next video. Yes, that's how it works.